I'm not entirely sure why, but I had never seen Help, I'm a Fish. This was released in 2000. I grew up watching primarily animal based animation, so the fact that I never saw this is actually a little bit strange to me, but I'm glad that it meant that I could then watch it for the first time as an adult. I'm less glad about the film itself. I kind of enjoyed the concept, and I very much enjoyed Alan Rickman. The animation itself is a little not to my liking. There's nothing bad about the animation. It's well edited. The color choices make sense. It's it's pleasant enough. But there are just certain aspects of the animation that didn't really appeal to my personal tastes. I feel like it feels quite dated very quickly, and that's not just because it's 22 years old. Because there are a lot of, for example, Disney films, and this is not a Disney film, but there were a lot of Disney films released at that time or beyond that don't feel as dated. Having said that, there are some Disney films that were released after this, such as Hercules, which I personally feel have quite a dated style to them, so it's certainly not exclusive to Help, I'm a Fish. The narrative I thought was quite interesting, but the execution I just didn't care for. The pacing didn't work for me. It took too long to get to the point, and then when it got to the point, I felt like the characters' behaviours weren't realistic, and the problems they encountered just weren't that exciting for me personally. I might have felt different when I was younger. There are those animations that are great for the whole family and will stick with you for life. Then there are the animations that are just for children, unless they have the nostalgic property for you. This one, for me personally, just felt a little bit too juvenile. So it was released in 2000, directed by Stefan Feldmark, Gren Manwaring, and with voice direction by Michael Donovan. And it's about these children who become fish. It starts out accidentally. This very young girl who complains she's thirsty for about 5 minutes of the film and then drinks this magic science potion, to want for a more technical term, and becomes a starfish. Her brother doesn't realize that she has become a starfish. He just thinks it's a regular starfish and flings it into the ocean. But his very intelligent friend, who I have to say is brilliant as a character, I really love this character, um, realizes what's happened, and they all have to turn into fish to go into the ocean to try and, first of all, rescue the little sister, who is still a starfish, but then they have to find the antidote and work out how to restore their human form. And I will say that aspect of it I thought was interesting. There is a sense of urgency, they are against the clock, they have to try and find a solution to become human again. And I will be honest, I genuinely had no idea how they were going to do it. They were in the ocean now, or in the sea. All of the science chemicals were back on land or destroyed. How on earth were they going to be able to return to their human forms? I honestly had no idea how they were going to resolve this. So that aspect of it I found quite interesting. But the events that happen as they try to establish this solution, I just didn't find that exciting. I didn't find it that engaging. And then because the animation style is not quite to my personal liking, it meant that the visuals weren't that captivating for me either. So for me personally, it lacked certain things, but I also feel like the narrative could have been better constructed. I know a lot of people hold this film dearly. I would be interested to know, first of all, if it's a childhood favourite, but also if it's a film that you watched as an adult for the first time and what you thought, because I haven't read that many reviews, but most things that I've read about it, or even people who have recommended it to me, loved it when they were growing up. So it's got that strong nostalgic feel. And I think there are films that I love that if I watch them for the first time now, I probably wouldn't like them, but because they're nostalgic, they certainly hold a special place in my heart. I'd love to know where Help, I'm a Fish sits with you, and if that's the case with you, or if indeed you didn't like it, either as an adult or as a child. It's not a terrible film. I didn't dislike watching it. It's just not quite as good as I had expected. There are areas of improvement that I could identify, but at the same time, I am willing to admit that the animation style itself is not to my personal taste. Help, I'm a Fish is by no means a bad film, just not quite what I was hoping for.